talk special for the exciting events going on for us as Unity of Stockton. But before I have Dr. Gail start, I wanted to read today's daily word. And I am Susan Dyhep, your spiritual coordinator. Okay, so today's daily word is inner peace. Peace grows within me as I remain centered in God. Inner peace, the peace of God that my words can only begin to describe, does not depend on outer circumstances. Peace does not come from any external source. It arises from within me. At a place in consciousness, sometimes called the center of my being, peace, like all the qualities of God, waits for me to recognize and claim it. I claim inner peace when I remember the truth that God's presence is always with me and within me. As I center my awareness in the divine presence within, peace soothes my feelings and restores order to my thoughts. I move through all circumstances with calm assurance. Peace grows within me as I remain centered in God. Every event of my day contributes to the calm peace of my soul. Those of steadfast mind you keep in peace because they trust in you. Isaiah 26:3. And Dr. Gail.
So I would like us to actually just continue on with that daily word by just closing your eyes and breathing into your heart. Just now allow long, slow, deep cleansing breaths just to bring you ever more fully present into that very center of peace in your being. And with every exhale, just allow any kind of tensions or holdings to just let go and loosen just a little bit more. And I want you to imagine that from this center in your heart, as a light comes into your heart, that also from behind your heart, there is an opening. And so as you breathe into your heart, to breathe this light and this peace into your heart, I want to invite you to open the back of your heart and feel this amazing, loving, vast presence behind you, holding you, loving you, restoring you, always ever present, wrapping its beingness around you. And so as you inhale into your heart, bring your breath in your heart, out through the back of your heart to meet and touch this being behind you. And then feel this benevolence and this love moving back from the back of your heart, through your heart and out in front of you. And I'd like you to imagine any situation that you are facing that might be a challenge. And I'd like you to place an image of what that is in front of you. And as you inhale, I invite you to breathe that situation or person or even aspect of yourself into your heart, out the back of your heart, and give it to this beingness, this place of love, this place of divine knowing and order. And then feel it being transmuted. And then sending a blessing out from the back of your heart, through your heart, and out back into this person or situation. And so as you breathe in, breathing it all the way in and through you, transmuting it. And then as you exhale, sending a blessing back out. And for the next few minutes, moments, we're going to just continue that breathing, allowing anything that has been perhaps not known or seen, that clarity comes with this deep love and peace as you breathe in, offer it, and then you're sending it back out as the blessing in the silence. Father, Mother God, we give thanks that we are a conduit for your divine loving, for your divine presence, for living, moving, and having your beingness in and through us. In gratitude for the many blessings, for the life that we live, and for our journey to be ever more close in our realization of all that you are, we give thanks. Together we silently say, thank you, God, 3 times. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And so it is. For it cannot be otherwise. In your name, I am, and your nature, love itself. Amen. So tomorrow is Memorial Day, and it's celebrated in the US on the last Monday in May. And it's a time of honoring the men and women who have served in the military and who have died, in honoring a vision of freedom. And this formerly was known as Decoration Day, which started just a little bit after the Civil War, and it became a national holiday or federal holiday in 1971. And normally this has been a time where we have either gone to cemeteries or monuments or gathered together or had parades up until recently just to honor those who served. And as we honor the vision that they made an ultimate sacrifice for, we're going to talk about today a vision that we hold for ourselves about freedom. And we're going to first start with Charles Fillmore in one of his 12 powers, which is the power of imagination. And the disciple that represents the power of imagination is Bartholomew. And the location of imagination is between the eyes, which is known as the third eye. So in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, it said that Jesus was known to have perceived Bartholomew even before he saw him. And he perceived it with what he called, or what is called, the inner sight. And so we're going to talk today about this, what this inner sight is and how we can cultivate it for journeying with our vision. So notice that when we are given certain insights or certain promptings, much like what Jesus, when he perceived something before it actually happened, how much of the time do we actually pay attention to those promptings? And how much of the time do we listen to things that maybe we shouldn't be giving so much attention to? So do we discern if it's for our highest good or maybe not as much for our highest good? So over the years, we have been influenced by an amazing invention that demonstrates a great spiritual truth. And yet we haven't fully appreciated its full metaphysical importance. And according to Swami Beyondananda, how many of you know who he is? Yes, it's called television. He said the most powerful tool on the planet today is to television, where I television to you and you television to me. And we can actually take on other people's visions at times as our own. And sometimes that's good and sometimes not. And scientists today are studying what are called mirror neurons. And what that means is our body is responding not only to what we do, but if we see something, our neurons are actually are responding as if they're actually doing the same thing that they see. So in some ways, it doesn't know the difference between what we're actually doing or what we're seeing. And the same thing, as I've mentioned before, our cells are eavesdropping on what we're hearing. Our vocal cords are mimicking silently the words that you're hearing as if we are speaking it ourselves. So the power associated with the throat center is Philip. And metaphysically, it means tamer of wild horses. How many times have we said things that have just wildly run out of our mouth and then later to realize how hard it is to retrieve and pull some of those words back? And if we were to realize the impact that the choice of our words have, not only on ourselves, but each other and the environment, would we be a little more particular in our choice of words? Because the other thing that we're discovering is that even our genetic expression is more affected by our environment than it is our biochemistry. So we mutually influence each other much more than we realize. So the vision for our lives can be little or it can be panoramic. And whatever we tell the vision to ourselves of having it be or tell others, what does the universe say? Either way, it says yes. So if our lives were a television show, and metaphorically they are, what would our prominent theme be? Would it be drama, romantic comedy, adventure, tragedy, devotional, simple, courageous, joyful? Well, I know for me, and I'm sure for many of you, it's been all of those at certain times in our lives, hasn't it? Yeah. Well, there have been certain successful people who have been telling a vision to themselves all their life. So I'd like you to think of one or two people who you admire. And I want you to think about the qualities in them that you admire. Is it their courage? Is it their dedication? Maybe it's their carefreeness. And did you know that what you appreciate in them, you also have in you? It's a resonance, or you wouldn't be so attracted to it. So Reverend James Trapp, in his book, The Power of Vision, shares a story about Michael Jackson. Now, Michael Jackson, since being very young, he would look to other performers as role models to emulate. And he saw himself as a renowned entertainer way before he became international. And he tells a story about young Michael Jackson being a passenger in a car with his brothers, and they were driving by the LA stadium. And he pointed to the stadium and he said, and it houses about 90,000 people. And he says, one day I'm going to perform there and I'm going to fill that stadium. So, of course, we know that came to pass. What he envisioned, what he embodied, the television that he kept telling himself came to pass. He also embodied a great spiritual principle that as ye decree a thing, it shall be established unto you. And the master teacher, Oprah Winfrey, she developed a skill of also visioning early on. And she shared once that even when she had some very difficult times, what she would do, she would go in her room and she would gather her stuffed animals and her dolls and she would line them up and she would teach. And when someone asked her, and also when she was going through those difficult times, she could see herself speaking and teaching in front of large groups of people. And so when someone asked her, what is your success in having such a great interviewing style? She says, well, I get good answers because I ask good questions. Often the answers we get are dependent on the questions that we ask. So what assumptions are you making about the situations that you're facing? About yourself, about others? Are they leading to expansive or contractive conclusions? What questions should you be exploring? You know, if we want clear answers, we need to ask clarifying questions. And why not ask them from a higher source? Course in Miracles course offers one of my favorite questions, which is, Lord, show me where to go, what to do, what to say, and to whom. I have a friend of mine who always asks, why am I so blessed? How's the universe conspiring for my good? What's right around the corner? How's God surprising me today? Why are things unfolding so easily? What's the hidden treasure in what I'm facing? And you know, she always has something miraculous to report because her questions are then prompting the universe to bring those assumptions to her. I was speaking to a woman named Ellen the other day who asked herself every morning, she says, tell me, my soul, what would you have me know today? And then she writes without filtering. So whatever challenging situation you may be facing right now, or would like to have better clarity or to improve on, maybe it's a relationship with a child, maybe a relationship with your health, a new business adventure, your finances, your whatever it is. Maybe just wanting more time with a loved one or time in meditation or time in stillness, or even the wish to get out there more. Ask yourself, what does God want from me in this situation? What's the highest possible outcome? And just stay with that question. What is the highest possible outcome? And as you watch that vibration raise, answers will be available that weren't available at another level when we're assuming lesser things for ourselves. And then just write from that possibility, allow that possibility to show itself and let those insights unfold. So ask yourself, excuse me, why do things fly away? What's your unique vision to fill? You know, they say, of course, without a vision, the people perish. But I would say without a vision, people go into resignation or complacency. Leonardo da Vinci strongly influenced Michelangelo. They were considered rivals, but there was a great respect between them. And Leonardo da Vinci taught Michelangelo something called saper vedere, which means knowing how to see. So he told him to go to graveyards at night and dig up corpses and close his eyes and feel the sinews and the muscles so that he could actually see it in his mind's eye and that he could draw it. He says, draw something from memory with a deep enough understanding to reveal its essence. Use this discipline to invite new ideas. You step inside something. Now, that's a little different of working with corpses, but the idea is we step inside a vision enough that we can hold and see it as if we were inside that experience. And he said, actually, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. He says, knowing isn't enough, we must do. So what vision is inside you that's stirring, that's asking, that's daring to be expressed? Maybe it's renewing a relationship. Maybe it's a relationship with your body and exercise. Maybe it's a dream you put away a long time ago. Maybe it's just outside your comfort zone. But would you be willing to shift your allegiance from conditioned certainty to possibility? When we do, so much more is available. It's said that everything is created twice. First, once in our mind and imagination, and then secondly, in form or matter. That's why Einstein was spot on when he said, imagination is more important than knowledge. But it's not enough to visualize it. We must feel it. We must get excited about it. We must desire it, seeing it as already part of our experience, right? So here you are, Unity of Stockton, just about to embark on a new adventure and with this new center. And so what do you envision for Unity of Stockton? You know, Universal Principles says, tell God your what. Let God work out the how. What will happen then as you follow those inner promptings and nudges and coincidences? A path will open for you to follow. So your vision is like painting a masterpiece. For you, it may be starting with broad strokes, or it might be the fine details. The broad strokes represent the context, the state of the, you know, you walk into a place and you can feel a certain energy, or someone exudes a certain presence or being. That would be the context. So what would you hold as the principle around which the center is going to evolve? Would it be being a stand for peace? Would it be a stand for sacred space, healing, to have this center be a learning center? Would it be about collaboration or cooperation? What do you want people to feel as they come into the center, and what do you want them to be magnetically drawn toward so that they can then want to share that with others? Now, they say inspiration without perspiration has no power. but also perspiration without inspiration has no fruit. So each of us has our own unique gifts to contribute to the center, whether close or far, Sylvia. So as we allow this masterpiece to unfold, to have a life of its own, to teach us what we're supposed to contribute to that, what is it that is ours to do? What is it is ours to fill in as part of this masterpiece? There's many great tools if we're not exactly clear on exactly what we want to create. There's many tools, and there's a site on the internet called mindmovies.com where you can put together images and affirmations to create a mind map, because sometimes our unconscious mind wants to see things that it can imprint onto that fertile soil of creating. So notice what images or phrases that you're attracted to and what brings you joy. I know what has held this community together, what brings people closer. Not only is the vulnerability and the closeness that you share, but it's also the joy. The joy is like a glue, and the willingness because of the trust to go deeper with each other. So according to Esther Hicks, even contrast will help you define what that vision is for you. So knowing what you don't want can also bring you closer to what you do want. And it's recommended that if you create a vision statement or just even hold a particular state of being in your mind, it's good to visit that image or that affirmation morning and night. And the reason, because that actually scientifically, is that the frontal cortex that's always figuring things out kind of loosens its grip when we are in that sort of between state. So as it loosens its associations, other ideas can come in to create other ideas and possibilities that we couldn't have even imagined if we were trying too hard. You know, before Thomas Edison invented or was credited for inventing the light bulb, there was actually someone before that. He had thousands of failed attempts. And each failure, that was bringing him one step closer. Each time you have looked for a building and it hasn't worked out, it's brought you one step closer. Each time we've made an effort to reach out to another, even if it doesn't initially work out, it brings us one step closer. We learn a lot. So what Edison would do is he would sit in his chair and he would hold a metal ball in his hand, and below is this metal tin. And he would go into a state of what he would call lucid dreaming, and he would wait for the answer to come. And if he would fall asleep, the ball would drop, it would hit the metal pan, and of course it would wake him up. And he said that the solution came to him in one of those receptive states. Because what was he doing? He was constantly telling a vision to his mind of what he wanted versus ruminating on what he didn't yet have. There's a friend of mine named Bob who is he's a retired engineer and he has many technology patents. And what he would tell himself, he says, I expect a solution to this invention. He says, I know the answer's out there. Because I don't know it yet, but I know the answer will come. And I'm opening myself to receive it. And so as he would go into this state of relaxed stillness, the answers would come. And he said often he would venture his awareness into the future. He'd say, okay, the answer's not here right here, but I know it's out there in the future. So I'm going to go into the future and I'm going to claim it now. He has 34 patents that happened that way. Because if science is saying there's non-local time and space, why not? Why not go to that place where the answer already exists for you? So we know the word desire comes from the word desire, of the Father, that it was put into our heart because it was meant to be fulfilled. It was meant to be there for a reason. So what state of mind, looking at those broad strokes, do you wish to embody? That's why it's important to be in prayer first thing every morning, because we enter into a state that no matter what comes at us, we can respond rather than just react. Who am I when I'm coming from my best? And coming from my best, what am I grateful for? You know, everything is already complete in the realm of spirit. It's already done. And if we can go there and we can see from there, God has so many gifts and blessings and abilities for us from that place. So ask yourself, if I already had this dream job, this healthy body, this renewed relationship, this amazing center, if I already had it, all my senses engaged, what would I be feeling, hearing, sensing, experiencing, rejoicing in? And step into it now. It already exists now. We don't have to wait for it to unfold into the future to already celebrate its fruits now. So whatever you decide, affirm this or something better, so that we make room for what is good, for we are willing to let go of what is good for what is great. You know, Jeff Bezos, when he was talking about his mission about sending people to the moon, he said, if your dream doesn't scare you, it's not a big enough dream worthy of your attention. Let your dream scare you in a good way, in an exciting way, because it's not just your dream. It's part of God dreaming the dream through you. And sometimes we need a little hack from our biochemistry. So did you know that when we accomplish even a small task, what we release is this feel-good hormone called dopamine, which keeps us motivated on to the next. So sometimes it's that little small step that takes us and motivates us to go further. When we feel overwhelmed, like this is too big, what one small thing can I move in the direction that brings me joy? Because if we don't explore our expectations and we just approach it half-heartedly or with vagueness, what we can do is we can activate another part of our brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is that little tiny part of our brain that's always going, warning, warning. And it's always wanting to scare us, keep us in survival, tell us what's wrong, doubt us. It has for such a small part of the brain, it has a very large presence, doesn't it? And we get addicted to it because we let it run center stage and tell us, okay, no, don't listen to that higher wisdom. Listen to me. I'll tell you where to go, what to do. You know, this is, what is that thing when the emergency comes, you know, the emergency siren goes off and it says, we'll tell you where to go and what to do. Well, that's what our little amygdala does. When we don't have a vision, when we don't move towards something, when we just sort of let things, well, we'll just sort of bounce off things that happen to us. And I recently heard Martha Creek speak, and she says we get addicted to this amygdala that produces cortisol from the adrenal glands, which also keeps us in fight, flight, or freeze. And she says we get addicted to upset. And it's like the ego is like a mad script writer that creates all kinds of scenarios to keep it going because it wants to stay in charge. So when we tell a vision that's not working for us, like, what's the use? What difference would it make? I can't have that. Or imagine the worst. I mean, I know I'm probably the only one who's done that, right? Can we stop to question, what am I believing right here? Am I going to let this little tiny amygdala have its way with me? Who am I really? What questions could I ask instead that would actually serve? You know, certain issues will take center stage when we don't face them. And that's the beauty of meditation. Meditation, taking time in stillness, allows things to rise so that we can understand what we want to move toward and what we're dissatisfied with. You know, we always say, oh, I can't quiet the monkey mind. It's not the point. Meditation, that mind will never completely go away. But the more we spend time in meditation to know the larger space we occupy, the quieter that voice gets, the less it rules and is set in front of stage. Because as we tune into what is eternal and unchanging, then that which is always up and down with our emotions and thoughts actually are seen for what they are, just waves. Waves as we are embodying the ocean. So there is still a gift, though, even when we are in our angst. Swami Byandananda says life is like a negative. We can use it to develop. And I'm sure some of our greatest lessons and learnings and teachings and even growths have come after we've been kind of pruned in certain ways, when we've been stopped or when things don't seem fair or just. When we take time in the stillness, when we take time to get to know ourselves, though, we begin to see and learn from those lessons. Otherwise, we may have a different scenario, we may have a different face show up, but it will be the same script until we really learn that lesson of who we really are. Who are we really in this? We're so much bigger than we can imagine. So it's about surrendering control. And surrender is seen in a different way. Surrender is about actually allowing life's greater lessons to be lived through you. I just dropped my page again. So when we surrender, we know we feel vulnerable, but we also know that when we're vulnerable, we offer our greatest gifts. So each of you has a gift to share. And even if you think it's very small, it's not. It may seem small to you, but if you ever notice when someone has just said one little kind word, how much it can shift everything. Each of us carries a potency that is offered to another in small and in big ways, but they're all significant. So as you think about qualities that you have, or even qualities that you admire in someone else, remember those mirror neurons? We can embody them. There's so much that we have to give to the center. And don't underestimate how large or small that is. And I invite you to ask yourself and your future self what qualities you would like to embody. And listen to allow your future self to tell a vision to you of what's possible. So, to conclude, I'd like to give you 5 steps on how to work with your vision. And because the ego is sustained by resistance, this is about facing something and then to just allow that resistance to loosen. So the first step is to feel into your vision with broad strokes, meaning hold a larger view. If you step into being causality in your vision, who do you want to be in your vision? Will you be the professional or will you be the amateur? The professional is the one who, if nobody else is looking, is still going to do it. There was only one person left on the planet, probably Arnold Schwarzenegger would still go to the gym, or Stevie Wonder would still be playing his piano. Who are you being? What are you allowing to move through you? And then let the details unfold. See it in your mind's eye and capture it like a camera capture. So the first is to feel, who do I want to be in this vision? The second is to tell a vision. Speak it as if it was already so. Again, decree it. Know it is already established. And the third is work with these creative energies. Stay engaged. Stay on the inside so that the forces of providence can work towards you. There's a beautiful quote from the 1700s by Goethe that says, until one is committed, there is hesitancy. There's a chance to draw back, always ineffective. But concerning all acts of creation, there's one elementary truth. It's ignorance which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. Because the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too to meet us. All sorts of things occur that would have never occurred otherwise. Whole streams of events come out from that one decision to fully embody your dream. And all unforeseen incidences start to coalesce on your behalf. Whatever you dream, whatever you do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. So work and stay on the inside of that vision. The fourth step is give yourself to it. Journey with it. There's an amazing book called The War of Art. I mean, we know the Suen book, The Art of War. This is called The War of Art, and this is by Stephen Pressfield. And he says one is either on the inside or the outside of their vision. And of course, that would be the professional or the amateur of whatever. You can be a professional in your relationship or your marriage. It's that level of dedication. Because he says at the end of our life, we'll either say, glad I did it, or wish I had have. And then the fifth practice is to stay fluid, to see what is emerging, what is unfolding, and to go with the flow of what's changing. He says, on this journey of heeding our visions, we are servants to the mystery. Our work comes from heaven, so why not give it back? We're put here on earth as agents of the infinite, to be used and to have it move through us. It's like this creative energy is our muse, and the more we engage with it, the more it gives to us. So if we hold back, the question he poses is, if you were meant to cure cancer, if you were meant to solve cold fusion, if you were meant to write a symphony, and you don't, you hurt not only yourself, but you hurt everyone. You hurt the planet. The aviator Dick Rayton says, it's not a crime to fail. It's a crime not to try. We each have our unique gifts. We each have our unique calling, as each of you are venturing in this new center with Unity of Stockton, because we're being inched by the infinite, even if it's 1 millimeter further, to help others and ourselves realize God. That's our mission. Don't cheat others of your contribution. Give of yourself. So this week's invitation is to travel in your imagination about what's possible in these next days, weeks, and months ahead, and to keep returning again and again to your heart where that vision lives, and to let your heart tell a vision, to let this center inform you of what that vision is, and follow it. Thank you.